Hello, welcome to a special edition of Ground Pass Podcast. We're live. We're live from the City Open in Mason, Ohio. Yes, it's not in Cincinnati. It's about 30 minutes out from Cincinnati in Mason, Ohio. And you can probably hear, the sounds of tennis and the grounds all around me. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that I have tennis in the background, or at least a wire fence and a court behind me. I don't know how much you can pretty much see, but I'm sitting outside of Court 10, one of my favorite outer courts on the grounds, and Iva Jovic is playing right behind me. So I thought I would just pop on here, jump on for a little mini pod, because I really wanted to touch on Canada before our regular pod. So our regular pod comes out on Monday. We usually record on Sunday and then it comes out on Monday, and I was going to do a mini pod anyway on Monday. We will see. I might do something different if we have a podcast episode at all. We will see. Because of the way the schedule kind of landed, we're kind of in limbo. I didn't want to leave talking about Canada all the way till next week Monday. I thought it would just be too late at that point, and I really wanted to talk about Canada right now as it's happened, because a lot happened. I have my notes here and the scores and all of that. So if I'm looking down or doing anything like that, that's what I'm looking at. So this one should be quick because it's just me. Let's talk about Canada and what happened. Let's start with Montreal. Montreal, the finals there it was the WTA event was in Montreal, and the finals was between Naomi Osaka and Victoria Mboko. Let us start with those two players, because I got to talk to and spend some time with both players at the City Open in DC. And if you had told me then that they would both be in the finals of the Canadian Masters, it wasn't in the cards. I just did not see it happening, and they somehow came into form. But at the same time, it's very interesting, because I'm saying that I did not see it coming. And yet at the same time, there were moments and there were conversations in interviews in DC that maybe could have enlightened me or shown me that this was possible. I will point specifically in Naomi's case to her final interview, her post-match interview after she had lost to Emma Raducanu. She was very calm. She was very serene and just sort of was very clear about what she thought she needed to do. She said she knew where, her statistics were, what she needed to improve, and she literally said at the end of it that she was leaving that tournament knowing exactly what she wanted to do. At the time, right after she switched her coaches, left Patrick Mouratoglou, and I thought, oh, maybe that's what she meant. But I think she just knew what she had to do with her game. And, after that first match where she saved match point and really dug in, it seemed like she found her groove. And she knew exactly what she had to do to get back into form. And she just kind of cruised through the tournament in a way. She was grittier. She seemed like the old Naomi. She was doing fun things. Like after one of her matches, it was her agent or manager's birthday, and she was, she had the crowd sing happy birthday to her. Like she was light, so it was very exciting. And, because of this run, she's going to be seated at the US Open. That's big. And she said it at one of the post-match interviews. She was like, I'm going to be seated at the US Open. And that's a big moment for her at this tournament. And she gets to the finals, and there she meets Victoria Mboko. And Victoria Mboko at the City Open, we have a Meet the Player, sorry. We have a Meet the Player episode with her. And I remember talking to her, and I have a thing about tennis players who are so young. Victoria Mboko is 18. And I always worry that they're becoming professional adults so early. You're a professional athlete. You have to be professional and be an adult so early. But talking to her, it was really nice to see that she still had that youth and that childlike manner. I asked her what she wanted to do, like what she did for fun, and it was basically go to the mall and get some Starbucks. You know what I mean? So it was nice to see that. And I asked her about what she felt playing for the first time at home at a Masters event in Canada. And she seemed so chill about it, which was striking to me because I thought, you're going home as this player who has all of this, hype behind her, where, she has this great winning record and, starting with the ITFs, she had that big run in Miami. She's just had some really, really great matches. And a lot of hype behind her. She might have, she said in the interview that she really stays off social media to stay out of that, which is good. And doesn't pay attention to any of that. So she's not really that in it and that aware. But the reality is that she does have that hype behind her. And I thought going into Canada, how is she going to deal with that? But she just seemed to have a really good head on her shoulders and was not going to sort of live in it and sort of worry about it too much. And went into Canada, it seemed with no expectations. I didn't have any expectations of her either. I think the big breakthrough match was that match she had against Coco Gauff, where it's a rematch. And I think everyone was kind of like excited about what possibly could happen, because either way, if Coco won, it's Coco Gauff. Obviously, there's no sort of, it's not bad to lose to Coco Gauff, but if Mboko won, massive win, beating a number 2 player, and she did. She won. Guess what? She beat four former Grand Slam champions to get this title. I broke the news to you there. Victoria Mboko won the Canadian Masters 1000 level event in Canada, beating Sofia Kenin, Coco Gauff, Elena Rybakina, and Naomi Osaka in the finals. What a finals it was. That was nerve-wracking. It was a tough watch. It definitely was a tough watch. Naomi took the first set and was looking really good, and I thought, wow, she's gonna do this. She's gonna win a title this year. I was like, she's gonna get over the line. And then the second set just got weird. It was almost like she stopped playing. I don't know. It was very odd, because it's not like Mboko, I think, stepped up all of a sudden, but they were both double faulting, and it wasn't a clean match, but Mboko was the one who was able to stay steady and get it over the line in that second set. And then the third set was just super gritty. But the moment Mboko broke in the third, I think it was really tough. I just don't think Naomi was able to find her game or her will to keep going in that third. And she started playing fast, and I could just tell she wants to get out of there. She's done. Like she's ready to leave the court. And Mboko, I mean, she was still playing, obviously, but Mboko was able to hang in there, stay tough, and win in 3, which is epic. Great moment for an 18-year-old, winning at home, winning a master. Massive achievement. And yeah, I think it's a great moment for her. Naomi Osaka and Victoria Mboko were supposed to come to Cincinnati Open, but as things kept going, they got the special exempt, they got the bye, but I just didn't think that it made sense for them to come here. The U.S. Open is in 2 weeks, guys. 2.5 weeks. It's in 2 weeks. Fan week starts so soon. So I just didn't think it made sense that they came here. Victoria Mboko in one of her matches fell and hurt her wrist. So it would be crazy for her to come here, risk re-injuring her wrist, risk her U.S. Open. She's now, with this win, ranked in the live rankings. It might change, fluctuate, depending on the results of this tournament, but 25 in the world. She's seeded. Victoria Mboko started the year in the 300s. I think it was like 343. I will probably just put like a caption here of exactly what her ranking was in January at the start of this year. And now she's 25 live ranking as we speak in the world right now. And that's crazy. Crazy good. That's crazy good. So really, really lovely moment for her. I think social media blew up a little bit talking about Naomi's post-match speech. And here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. We need to stop talking about post-match speeches, okay? If this happened with Aryna Sabalenka, slightly different because, well, actually not that much different because also the stuff she said on court, I think people had, issues with that as well. And then the stuff she said in press afterwards. In this one, Naomi basically did not acknowledge Victoria Mboko at all. The speech was very, very short. And then she didn't do press. She just gave remarks at the end privately, like it was a smaller, kind of mixed zone kind of thing. And she did, at the time mention Mboko and was sorry that she forgot. She just said she wanted to, keep it short on court and wanted to get out there. And then recently, and I'll put the thread post here, she posted on Threads that, she didn't mean to forget her, but she did. Like, she was just trying to get out of there really quickly. Here's my thing. Until you have put on tennis shoes and have played a Grand Slam final or a 1,000 level final, even a 250 final, until you have done that, Mr., as Andy Roddick would say, Twitter fingers person, as Jessica Bustos Monero would say. How about we just calm down, put the phones away, and not jump to judgment? It is probably a very emotional experience going through the final and then losing. You don't need to pile on. And you have not picked up a racket to be a professional athlete or any other athlete. So your opinion pretty much doesn't matter, sir, ma'am, person, okay? And I think we need to give tennis players a little bit of slack. I just don't know what other sport, and please let me know, hockey fans, basketball fans, whatever other sport fans, do your, athletes, when they lose, do they have to take a mic and speak right away? Because I see tennis players doing it all the time, and we need to be able to give them a bit of grace because, I think we're expecting so much of them. So, that I feel like we wouldn't put that sort of pressure on ourselves. And that's all I want to say on that. On to Toronto, where Ben Shelton, Ben Shelton, who is here already. He's in Cincinnati. And Karen Khachanov, the finalist. They're both in Cincinnati. They were in the finals of Toronto, and Ben Shelton came out the winner. Wow. I think Nick and I have talked about this before numerous times, but I think we've always said it's between Taylor Fritz and Ben Shelton for who is the male American, who is most likely to win a Grand Slam. They're the male hope for American tennis because the women have done it, they're fine. Coco Gauff said that in press. I'll include that here actually. So Coco Gauff came into press, talked about a few things, but she got asked about, when the comparison between men and women Grand Slam champions and who's winning. And she basically was like, it's not a competition. So I'll put her clip here.
Can you talk about the strength of American tennis right now with so many top players? What's fueling it? And also, do you have any fun, friendly competitions with the men? Who can get more players in the top 10, or who can get to world number 1, something like that?
Well, for the men, I feel like the women, it hasn't been much of a competition, no offense to them, but now it is, kind of. But I don't know, we had was it 3 or 4 straight slams with American in the final, so I think we're doing pretty good on our end. They have to catch up, but no. I think it's great to see so much representation of our country in this sport, and also I think that's the beautiful thing too about just being American. All of us look different, and we have biracial, black, white, all types of representation for girls and guys to look up to in the top 10 or close to the top 10. And I think that's something beautiful about our country, that how diverse it is. And, I hope in this sport that it continues to show. But yeah, it's great for the men too to be in those numbers with us. And, hopefully, I would love to see in my lifetime a woman and an American woman and male win the same slam. That would be great. We got it at U.S. Open. They were both in the final. So hopefully maybe this U.S. Open some magic can happen.
But she's right. It's not a competition. The guys need to step it up. But Ben is the closest to it. And he is doing so well to improve his game. He's not just a serve. That is such a reductive way of looking at his game. He's not just a serve. Yes, he has a big serve, but he has other elements too that he is working on adding to his game. And that's how he got to the final and also then won the tournament. It was very, very impressive there because Karen Khachanov took that first set and won it fair and square, and it just wasn't looking like Ben could come back. And not only did he come back, he came back firing. He took that match. He took that match, and it was very impressive. I was actually very, very impressed to see that. And it's kind of been like that all tournament for him. He's kind of quietly gotten super gritty. I don't think I've ever thought of Ben Shelton as gritty. I thought of him as powerful. I thought of him as strong, but grit wasn't, I don't think, there for me, but he had that. He had that at this tournament, and he was really, really great. Karen Khachanov, Mr. Consistent. He's kind of a little bit Taylor Fritzy in that way. He's just always around. The moment you forget about Karen Khachanov, he pops up. He makes an appearance. It's you forgot about me? I used to be top 10. I'm always around. So it's really nice to, have a player like that in the ATP who's just always there. He was very gracious at the end. I loved what he said about Ben Shelton because, again, I think there's this sort of, and I'm going to hold my hands up. I haven't really seen a lot of this discourse around Ben Shelton, only because I'm not online a lot. As someone who actually runs Ground Pass's Instagram and Twitter and X, and, Blue Sky, all of it, I post and I leave. There are definitely some people I respond to all the time, yourselves, we have conversations there. But for the most part, I just block everything else out because for me, the internet is not a real place. People just talk sometimes, and it's usually just for people in my mind. that do all the talking. But yes, apparently there has been a lot of discourse around Ben Shelton and how he's arrogant or whatever, which makes no sense. Confidence and arrogance are not the same thing. Look it up in a dictionary. I'm really spicy in this episode of Ground Pass. This is what happens when Nick is not around. This is what happens when Nick is not around. But yeah, you know, I think Karen was very gracious and really used his words so beautifully, talking about how Ben is great and has such a great family upbringing and background around him, which is awesome. Like, he didn't have to say that. He could have just been like, great match, great competitor, but he took the time to say all of that, which was awesome. So that was Canada. That was the tournament. Before we move on, well, first of all, we got to talk about the doubles. We have to talk about the doubles in Canada because it was so awesome. On the men's side, we had an all-British special. The Brits are loving the doubles. We had Joe Salisbury and Neil Skupski against Lloyd Glasspool and Julian Cash. Now, Lloyd Glasspool and Julian Cash haven't lost a match in God knows how long. These are the Wimbledon champions, by the way. I don't know the last time they lost a match. I think they're on a 19-match win streak or something crazy like that. So they just won Wimbledon, and now they've won Canada. I believe they are here. It's actually really funny. So this is day 2 of main draw, and today is actually the first day that I've seen doubles players around. So they've kind of slowly started filtering in, and it's, you know, I hope I can get to talk to some of them. Will Buchek, who is of the Tennis Tribe, is landing tomorrow, so we're going to be doing some fun projects. So stay tuned to that. Stay tuned for that. I'm excited because I love talking about doubles with him. And hey, maybe that will be what the Monday episode will be. Maybe we'll talk about doubles and maybe do a little bit of a preview for the U.S. Open. Guys, maybe we can do that. How about this? If you're watching this, leave your questions in the comments. First of all, if you've gotten this far, like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening on a podcast of your choice, podcast player of your choice, please leave us a comment, leave us a rating. It really does help with people discovering our podcast. And if you think we're doing great and you want people to discover us, it does help. But yes, leave us a comment and let us know what you want to know about doubles leading into a Grand Slam. Because, you know, what do you want to know about the teams? What teams to watch? You know, let us know and we'll get into it. But yes, so they're the team to watch for sure here, and definitely the U.S. Open. Lloyd Glasspool and Julian Cash, they're on fire. On the women's side, Team Cocart, formerly Team New Balance, but Team Cocart, as named by Coco Gauff herself, was the team of Coco Gauff and McCartney Kessler. They won the doubles tournament and they defeated world number 1 Taylor Townsend and Zhang Shui. Now that was great because I think Coco Gauff had such a hard time in Canada with her serve in singles, but excelled on the doubles court. So to come away with the title, I think, is really great. It kind of balances out the sort of disappointment of the singles, but also I think for an athlete shows them that whatever they're doing, it's working. It just needs to translate in all aspects of their game. So hopefully that can happen. I will leave a different clip here from Coco Gauff because I asked her about the doubles and if she was going to play, you know, if Team Cocart was going to show up at the U.S. Open. Unfortunately, they will not. And I also asked her about her U.S. Open outfit. So listen to that here. Is Team Coco Cart going to be in the U.S. Open?
No, because of me. I'm not playing doubles at U.S. Open, but it'll happen again. I don't know when. Yeah, it was last minute, but yeah, I had a great time.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a high from Wimbledon was that dress that you wore.
Yeah.
That was like a killer dress that New
Thank
Balance
you.
did for you. You've been doing this custom look slowly now. Can we expect anything from U.S. Open?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, a custom look for US Open too. It's not as intricate as Wimbledon was. That was really, I was really proud to wear that, and I'm fortunate that I didn't get longer screen time in that. I wish I did better, but yeah, I think New Balance has done a great job of just collaborating with me and other designers. Not only did that dress was with another designer as well, and just really branching outside of the brand to make something that is special. So I'm super excited for US Open, and this week is Miu Miu. So this has been a great year. And I have not repeated an outfit. I don't know if anyone's noticed this year. In any tournaments, I've worn a different outfit for every tournament. So that's something I'm really proud of. And I don't think it's been done. So it's been tough though for them. I don't know if it'll be repeated.
So yeah, that was the doubles. We got a question on TikTok. Yes, it was on TikTok about what we thought about the length of these 2-week Masters. Now, technically, Canada and Cincinnati have decided, instead of being fully 2 weeks, therefore being a month. So for example, Indian Wells and Miami are 2 weeks and take up a full month. Cincinnati and Canada are only taking up 3 weeks. They've just split up those 3 weeks equally, and that's what they're doing. But it's still extended. And someone asked, what did we think about these extensions and, these length of tournaments? And I answered that question there, but I did want to bring it into podcast form. And my thought for sure is, when this first was announced, I thought, great, more tennis, more time for more tennis. And at the time, the players were definitely like, this is great because we get 1 day off, 1 day on, and it's good for our bodies, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, great, it seems like a win-win. But what's happened though is it's just stretched everything out, and it actually hasn't felt full. It's felt like there were moments in Canada where I was like, it's 4:00. There are no matches. Where are all the matches that we're supposed to be watching because it's extended? So it just felt light. It felt like we could have had more matches like when it was 1 week, and it would just be all the quarterfinals on one day, all the semifinals on one day, and it felt like full. And now it just felt a little light. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about them, because there's, for example, I still love Miami and Indian Wells though. And those are 2 weeks, but then those have always been 2 weeks. And I will leave a clip here of Maria Sakkari's answer on this, because she was asked about this in press today, actually, which was really great. And she had a really fascinating answer that, I hadn't really thought of, because I think sometimes we always think about it in extremes as either or. Either they're all 1 week or they're all 2 weeks. And she was like, some of them can be 2 weeks, a la Indian Wells and Miami. And she actually mentioned Cincinnati as being one of the ones that can be 2 weeks. And then she said others, she did not mention which, others should only be 1 week because they don't have the correct facilities or things like that. And that's actually, I feel like, valid. And I think can be a good compromise.
You know what? There's not much I can say because I'm also in the player council, so I'm in a very difficult position. But I'm also speaking as a player. That the schedule is crazy. I mean, we see a lot of upsets. We see a lot of players missing tournaments, a lot of injuries. That has to be because of the schedule, not because we are soft and we're not good athletes. A tournament like this deserves to be 2 weeks or 10 days, however you want to call this. Because for us, it is 2 weeks. So we come earlier, we stay all the way. So let's call them a 2-week tournament. there's other tournaments, which I'm not going to name, obviously, that personally, in my opinion, they don't deserve to be 2 weeks because the facilities are not great, the food is not as good as it is here. And if I was to speak about myself, I'd rather have less money in those tournaments and less days, and have a few tournaments throughout the season that are 2 weeks, like this one. Indian Wells Miami was always 2 weeks, so we're kind of used to it. And then I don't want to go into details which other tournaments could be 2 weeks, but I just feel like not every tournament provides the same, and I'd rather take a pay cut in those tournaments than have a healthier life.
She didn't say this, but for example, if Canada was 1 week, I feel like Mboko and Naomi Osaka could have been here because they would have had the days off and be able to come to Cincinnati. So yeah, I definitely think it's something that the tours are hopefully thinking about for the future. You know, this is, I think, the first year that pretty much all of the 1000s except for Monaco and then Paris, which is coming up later, those are the only two left that are 1 week, and then everything else is 2 weeks. This is the first year that that's happening. So you have to kind of like give it some time, but I feel like early consensus is it's not working. So let's see what they do about that. So yeah, that is pretty much it. I will give you a quick kind of summary of what's been going on so far in Cincinnati. So this is day 2, day 2 of the tournament main draw. We're still in the first round. Most of the top players got buys into the first round, so they don't play until round 2. Round 2 starts tomorrow and then round 2 kind of starts Sunday and then Monday. Yeah, so we'll see, Carlos, Sinner, Arena Sabalenka, we'll see all of them come in then. For now, round 1 has been going great. There have been some fun matches. It's kind of a slow start. That's how these 2-week events have been. There's a slow start, and then they kind of ramp up and, go on that way. Because of Naomi Osaka and Victoria Mboko's withdrawal, let me explain everything because I have explained it on social media numerous times. I've not done it on the podcast yet, so I might as well. But basically, because Victoria Mboko was doing so well in Canada, she got what is called a special exemption, which is what is given to a player who is supposed to play qualifying in a week, in the next week basically, but is still currently in a tournament doing well. So she got a special exemption into the main draw. She kept doing well. So what happens when you have to play, you're not seeded, so you don't get a bye. But you have to play right away into a 1000 level event because they overlap, which the final of Canada overlaps with day 1 of Cincy. They would literally have had to play the next day. They got performance buys, which means they're not seeded, but they get a bye into the second round. But because they withdrew, their performance buy goes away and their spots are given to lucky losers. So the 2 players are replaced by 4. Behind me, actually, are 2 of those lucky losers playing a match right now, Iva Jovic and Selena Sierra. They were 2 of the players that got one of those spots. So it's a really complicated thing, and I pretty much spent the last 2 days posting reels and TikToks explaining it. They've been blowing up on social media, which has been great. I think people have been very grateful to get that information and understand it, so that's been nice. If you don't follow us on social media, you should. that's where you find things like that. And if you want to follow what we're doing on the grounds, follow us on Substack. We have a daily dispatch every single day that we're on the grounds, talking about different aspects of it. On the first day, I just gave a special, an impression of the renovations because they're awesome. Yesterday, I focused on practice courts. Today, I'm going to focus on show courts, and tomorrow, I am focusing on outer courts. So follow along there. You'll get all of that fun information. And again, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for just being with us. It's been great meeting you guys on the grounds. Please keep coming up to me if you see me like this, recording or whatever. It really helps me keep going. So thank you. Like, subscribe, 5 stars, all of the above. Bye, guys.